Eventually, if you're vocal about your opinions on the internet long enough, one of the biggest criticisms you'll get is, "You couldn't do any better." Someone said that to me recently, and it got me thinking, could I do better? The show's been so shit lately, it couldn't be that hard. I'm a decent writer, let me see what I can do. So, here's how the scenario goes. In this imaginary world, last week, HBO saw Battle of the Bastards, realized it was terrible, and then ran to me. Ravor, please, we need the finale to be good, we need good ratings. And I say to him, hey, sure, of course, yeah, no problem. I'll write the next episode for you, but I also want directing privileges, and I need access to an unlimited budget, every actor, and also all the information that George R. R. Martin has given to Dave and Dan. I need all of that. And they were able to give me everything except the George R. R. Martin information. So, this is the episode that I wrote in that week, that they somehow made and produced in that week, and is going to come out tomorrow night. Now, when I was making this, I had a few ground rules. Number 1, the books don't matter. Now, of course, the books matter, but I figured the show has gone off the rails at this point to such an extent that trying to stick to the books is an impossible task. We're already too far gone, we might as well make the best story we can out of the shit we have. That being said, I'll try to stay consistent to some of the themes in the long term, but this is only one episode. There's not much I can really do here. I'm trying to write the best episode I can with everything given. And also, I constrained myself. Everything that was shown in the preview trailer at the end of last week's episode, I included in here. So, after the episode airs tomorrow night, or maybe tonight, depending on when this video gets uploaded, let me know whether or not you like my version better. So, without further ado, here is my edition of how I would write the Season 6 finale of Game of Thrones. We start with a cold open. The camera is in the sky, looking at the sun. We slowly pan down, and we find ourselves in the water gardens of Dorne. As the area is opened up to our view, we see all 3 Sandsnakes and Arya Sand kneeling, bound by their hands and feet. In the previously on of the episode, we're reintroduced to Daemon Sand, otherwise known as Oberyn's squire, and he's standing here next to them, holding Arya Hoda's axe. He makes it clear that they're to be executed for their crimes, and he asks them if they have any last words. First comes Obara. I am Obara Sand, daughter of Ober... Daemon Sand swings the axe, and Obara's head lands with a thud on the ground. Next comes Lady Nym. I didn't even kill anyone! Obara got all the fun! The axe falls. Tyene doesn't speak, but instead, she rolls around on the ground, screaming and kicking as though she's having a seizure. But for all her might, she cannot get her boobs to fall out from her dress. Her head is removed. Lastly, Arya Sand breaks down in tears. She screams, Why? Why did I ever think we could get away with murdering the Prince of Dorne? The axe drops. The main title plays. We begin in the north. Jon and Sansa are in the Great Hall of Winterfell, finally taking their first sigh of relief as they've finally retaken their home. Littlefinger begs an audience where he's thanked for his assistance. Jon asks how he got past Moat Cailin, and Peter Baelish responds by saying his forces landed in White Harbor and that the Manderleys were very helpful. This explains how the Vale got north past the Bolton-controlled Moat Cailin, which makes no fucking sense as it is. Jon proceeds to ask how they could have possibly known that they needed help, to which he replies that Sansa asked for help via Raven. Jon looks at Sansa, confused and hurt. The room is cleared, and Jon and Sansa have a confrontation. Jon demands Sansa tell him why he hid this information. He screams at her. Rickon is dead. Thousands of men are dead, butchered. Their bodies are piled high out there on our land. It all could have been avoided. Our brother would still be alive if it wasn't for you. Why did you do it, Sansa? And after being berated for a few minutes, she replies, Because I couldn't trust you. Jon, I don't know you. I avoided you like the plague as a child. We never spoke. We weren't close. Now, years later, I meet you. You're Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and at the very first opportunity you have, you desert. You tell me that you've been stabbed to death for the crime of bringing thousands of wildlings south of the wall onto our land. And then you say that you were brought back to life by blood magic. How could I trust you with my only advantage? This accomplishes a few things. It explains why Sansa was such a dumbass bitch in the last episode, and it actually gives her some character. I really think this scene is necessary if this episode's going to be good. We need some sort of explanation. We can't have it just brushed off. But in my version, after all this, Jon simply hugs her and forgives her, and they agree to trust each other from here on out. But as these promises are made, the camera focuses on Sansa's face, and it's completely blank, with not a hint of emotion. As for the Hound and the Brotherhood, they head north, but they realize Moat Cailin is still controlled by the Boltons, so they can't get anywhere north. Same with Brienne. Now we're in King's Landing, at the Great Sept of Baelor. We're at the trial of Loras Tyrell. He's found guilty. He's stripped of his lands and titles, and forced into a life serving the Seven. Cersei sees all this, and is put on incredible edge. She sees her own future before her eyes. With Qyburn's help later, she's able to get a private audience with her son. She introduces a plan to him. She says, now that the war is over, the people need to see that their king is strong and their kingdom restored. She tells him he needs to leave King's Landing and go across the land, meeting the people, proving that the crown is still strong. But in reality, this is just a ploy for her future plans. Tommen, however, sees through this. He calls her out. He says she's jealous of Marjorie, says she's sacrilegious, says that she couldn't be as beautiful as Marjorie even if she tried, and eventually he even implies that he believes the rumors about her and Jaime might be true. Cersei storms off distraught, and eventually attempts to put her plan into motion. She runs for the wildfire. She gets dangerously close. Qyburn has told her their location. She gets to one of them, but Qyburn is there to stop her. He convinces her that she can't be found guilty, or else Tommen would lose his claim, and thus the High Sparrow would lose his power. He restrains her, holds her back as she cries into his shoulder, and he lets her know that he has a feeling that things might work out soon. We get a quick flash of Euron on the Iron Islands, ruling with an iron fist. We see some men arguing in a tavern, calling Euron a Kingslayer, and even worse, a Kinslayer. Later, we see these men being drowned, thereby making it clear that the Ironborn aren't all evil scum who are completely okay with Kinslayers being their king. We see that Euron is a force to be reckoned with. He's a dangerous, deadly man who will do anything to get what he wants. Back in the north, we see Davos confront Jon with the evidence that Melisandre burned Shireen. He demands that Jon execute Melisandre for her crimes. Mel is completely silent. After encouragement from Jon, she admits to killing Shireen. There are plenty of things she could say in justification, but she says none of them. She's completely silent. She doesn't try to justify her actions, and she puts herself completely at Jon's mercy. And, surprisingly, Jon takes her side. He says he has no room to judge. He was brought back to life with blood magic after all, and who's to say that Shireen's king's blood wasn't the source of Mel's power? Davos is amazed, distraught, curses Jon's name, the Stark's name, the Baratheon's name, and he leaves, unable to support Jon and his Red Witch anymore. Out in the Godswood with Sansa and Littlefinger, Sansa's distressed. She doesn't know who she can trust anymore, and she simultaneously wants to hug and kill Littlefinger. Littlefinger, on the other hand, well, gods only know what game Littlefinger's playing. Sansa asks him plain and simple what he wants. He replies he's never hidden that from her. He wants everything. He wanted her to be happy. He reminds her that the people who killed her father, who started this whole war, are still in power, and reminds her that they now have one of the most powerful armies in the country. He implies that they should move south. Now we move over to Bran, north of the wall, lost, wondering what his next step should be. Benjen tries to help him. He lays Bran underneath the branches of another heart tree and tries to help him remember. He says that the images the three-eyed crow gave him were very important, and that he has to decipher them as best he can. Bran focuses, and he gets flashes. They're kind of similar to what we've seen before. They're blurry and too fast for Bran to understand completely. Benjen says that he has an idea for something that might help, but it'll have to wait for morning. Next, we're at Sam in the Reach. He, Gilly, and baby Sam are almost to Old Town. They can see the high tower of the high towers rising above the horizon, and they know they're close. As Sam and Gilly look at each other with a soft smile, hope in their eyes, the banners of House Tarly appear behind them. They try to run, but they're quickly encircled. Randall dismounts and goes on a long monologue. goes along the lines of this. I thought sending you to the wall would make a man out of you, but it appears I was wrong. All they've sent back is the same fat craven I sent away. Only now, you're an oath-breaking thief. Killing you would have done the 7 kingdoms a favor, but now I have a better solution. End your line once and for all. He pulls a knife and grabs little Sam. Sam raises Heartsbane over his head, but he's swiftly cut down by one of the knights. His arm is severely cut and he's bleeding heavily. Gilly jumps up quickly, grabbing her own knife and charging Randall, but as she gets close, she gets stabbed in the chest. She falls on the ground flat. Her eyes move up to meet Sam's, and then she dies. One less wildling whore, and now one less bastard. He kills little Sam. He gives his son one last glance before riding away, leaving him to bleed out. Sam crawls over, clutches Gilly's body, and cries. It's the next day north of the wall. Benjen brings Bran a breakfast of thick red paste, which Benjen explains comes from the Weirwood's roots. He encourages Bran to eat and that they'll help with his visions. And as he eats, his visions do become more clear. We see the Mad King again, this time a more in-depth scene, where he explains his intent to burn the entire city. We see more of a close-up on Jaime's face, of him making the decision to murder the king. We see dragons. We see Aegon the Conqueror and his sisters, forcing the king in the north to kneel. We see Jon Snow leading a huge army. We quickly see a bed of blood. We see young Eddard's face looking somber, and with a cut to black, we hear the words, "Promise me, Ned." Bran awakens, excited. He's finally seen more on his own than he ever dreamed would be possible. He turns to tell Mira everything he just saw, but he can't seem to find her. He asks Benjen where Mira went. Benjen's face is bare. He merely blinks in response. Bran looks down at the empty bowl and vomits. Over in Meereen, Dany is fucking the brains out of Daario, who unfortunately in this instance cannot be Euron. Afterwards, they have a conversation about how she fears what Tyrion warned her of. She doesn't want to become her father, the Mad King. Daario tells her that she shouldn't concern herself with what people lower than her think of her, that it's just jealousy that often drives claims of madness and tyranny. She thanks him and gives him a sloppy blowjob right on camera. Hey, it's my episode, let me dream. Later, Tyrion gives her the opposite advice. She should absolutely care about the opinions of those she rules, because it's from them that she truly derives her power. And then he gives that line from the trailer, something about the great game or some bullshit. And then we get a scene where Theon and Asha discuss the events of the last episode. Theon is rightfully greatly concerned. He points out that it's a hard enough sell to get the Ironborn to support a woman, but they'll never support a woman who promises to end reaving and bow to some dragon queen. Asha agrees. She chides him. Little brother, of course you're right. You don't believe I'd make that sort of agreement without a plan, do you? All we need is the right moment to put it into action. And then, finally, we see Daenerys, her Khalasar, her Unsullied, her dragons, and the Ironborn set sail, leave Essos behind, and chart a course directly for Westeros. Jaime and the rest of the Lannister army are in the Twin Towers of Frey, celebrating the taking over of Riverrun. There's a serving girl there. She's blonde and pretty, with a striking resemblance to a younger Cersei. And she seems to be infatuated with Jaime, but Jaime waves her off, uninterested. Doesn't take long for the merriment to turn to anguish. Walder can't help but brag about the Red Wedding every 5 minutes. He talks about the way the Reigns of Castamere played. He talks about how the king cried as his wife was stabbed. He talks about how the bolts rained down from the sky like the finger of God. He talks about how the plan was so devious and perfect that the Starks never saw it coming. He describes Robb Stark's last moments, when Roose Bolton walked up and said, "The Lannisters send their regards." He goes on a tangent explaining that he talked to Lord Roose after, and Lord Roose described to him how it was actually Jaime himself who is the one that told Roose to deliver that message. The whole room looks at Jaime. Some men laugh, others shake their head, but Jaime himself is the most disgusted. He gets up to leave the hall and get some fresh air, as Walder goes on some other rant about how killing the Blackfish was the proudest day in his house's history. Jaime gets outside, nauseous, and takes several deep breaths of fresh air. He walks out onto the crossing over the roaring waters of the Trident. He looks up at the moon and wonders to himself whether he'll be home in time for Cersei's trial. Then, behind him, the serving girl that was flirting with him earlier follows him outside. She asks him if he's alright. Jaime says, "I'm fine, thank you, girl. I just need some air." The girl nods her head and turns to leave, but stops. She looks at Jaime, gives a soft smile, and says, "Just one more thing." The girl pulls out a long, slender blade and, quick as a cat, drives it through Jaime's gut. The girl removes her face, revealing Arya. The Starks send their regards. Jaime gasps in confusion, and after a few beleaguered moments, falls dead. Arya pushes him into the river, puts her face back on, and walks back inside. We see birds flying all across Westeros, white ones, and in a sort of montage format. Walder at the Twins, Jon at Winterfell, Ed on the wall, the Danes of Dorne, all receiving a message fast delivered from the Citadel, and they all read and inform their masses that winter has finally come. We see the same bird approach King's Landing at night, coming to a rest in someone's private chambers. The camera pans across the room slowly, and we're slowly introduced to things that seem amiss. Scattered pages here, a long-lit candle there, broken vase there, until finally the camera lands upon Maester Pycelle, dead, his throat cut wide open. We cut to the Great Sept of Baelor as the High Sparrow sends his acolytes to bed and does his nightly duties, putting out lanterns, replacing new candles before the statues of the gods, things like that. Finally retires to his chambers, and as he shuts the door, he's struck by a crossbow bolt to the stomach. He grunts and looks up, the pain and darkness blurring his vision as we see things through his perspective. What? Why? Another bolt, this time to the leg. He falls. Who? I'm the voice of the gods. Who dares? Oh, who are you fooling? Must you lie to your dying breath? The voice is unmistakable. It's Varys. You've done a fine enough job convincing the Seven Kingdoms of your piety, but I'm afraid you'll find your words have little effect on me. The High Sparrow is speechless. He looks down, realizing that he only has minutes to live. What have you done? When they find me, there'll be nothing left but chaos. Utter chaos. Riots, murder, rape. They'll blame the crown. There'll be nothing left. Oh, I expect so. They'll blame the Dowager Queen, most likely. Maybe even the Tyrells, if I'm lucky. The people will loathe the power of the crown and overly yearn for someone else's head for it to sit upon. You don't have to. I'm sorry, my lord. You played the game very well. One of the best I've seen yet. The religious approach is vastly underrated, but the one thing you can't account for, power resides where men believe it resides. And when it comes to your gods, I surely don't believe. With that, children flood the room. Varys' birds all flock around the sparrow, and one by one, they raise their knives and let them fall. We arrive at the Wall for the first time in 6 episodes. We see Ed debating amongst his brothers what the arrival of winter means for them practically. Are they in any more danger than before? Most of them can't even remember the last winter and certainly weren't Black brothers at the time. As they speak, the horn is blown. Rangers? Ed says, rising. The horn is heard again. More wildlings, asks another brother. Haven't we had enough of them? A third blow. Why do you always have to fucking talk? Ed complains. He immediately gets in the elevator to go atop the wall. The brothers on watch at the top are all frozen with fear, simply gawking on what they see before them. As he approaches the edge, Ed understands. There are thousands pouring out of the trees, walkers and undead intermingled, all standing resolute. Thousands of blue eyes pointed directly at him. We see the Night's King at the head of the van. The camera gets close, and in his hand, he raises a horn of its own, white with black accents, covered with strange runes. He blows it. As he does, the horn comes alight, the runes glowing with blinding blue light, the sound of a million ravens cawing once. There's an intense rumbling. Ed looks down. A deep crack is running straight up the face of the wall, and when it reaches the top, runs directly between his legs. The men yell and scream, running for the elevator, for the stairs, for anything. Some even resort to jumping or simply pushed off in the hustle. Dolores Edison Tollett merely shakes his head and sighs, and in an annoyed voice asks, "Isn't that just typical?" Now, from the White Walker Army's perspective, we see the wall crack, break apart, and completely collapse before our eyes, revealing the open north to us, with the rising sun in the background. The Night's King raises his sword and yells, and the army of the dead begin to march. End season. So that's it. That was my idea of how I'd like this season finale to go. Now, I know there's going to be comments, oh my god, he fucking killed Jaime, he killed Gilly, he killed fucking whatever. You know, I know killing Jaime is a bit of a stretch maybe. For the record, Sam's still alive in my version. But yeah, I know it's not perfect, but keep in mind, I'm just some asshole on the internet who wrote this over an afternoon. So if my version is anywhere close to the quality of professional fucking writers who get paid thousands of dollars to do this every day, then maybe that might say something. From a lot of perspectives, that might seem to be a problem. And in the case that you might think that my version is better than the version they eventually end up giving us, well, God's help us all. Keep moving forward, guys.